Brace yourself for the ultimate test, the ABSA Off-Road Championship, and fast-track yourself through the race with vehicle and asset finance from ABSA. Today, tomorrow, together.
It was all to drive for in one category and done and dusted in another. And all of it added to the excitement of the 8th and final event of the ABSA off-road season, the Ford Carnival City 400 in Brakpan. In the special vehicle class, the motorized team of Evan Hutchison and Kim Bergman were racing for the national crown, 5 points behind the father and son team of Nick and Ryan Harper. And in the production car class, the Nissan Navara of Duncan Foss and Ralph Pitchford was steered to the national crown in the previous event, the Toyota Dealer 400 in Mpumalanga. No less than 76 entrants made their way to the gambling mecca of the East Rand just outside Brakpan, which has a reputation for always delivering a watery race, as this event has proved to be a rainmaker of note. However, the weathermen were predicting nothing of the sort this time. Four-time national champion Hannes Grobler was hoping to make it 7 wins out of 7 for the Nissan Navara team, while his navigator Francois Jordan had a big battle on his hands against Ralph Pitchford for the navigator's crown.
Yes, it's down to the wire. Unfortunately for Ralph, he was overseas with his Volkswagen commitments for 2 races. We did not take advantage of one of them when we fell out in Amatola, but the other one we took full advantage in the Popo, which we won. But then the situation is that if they win and we come second, then I win the championship by 1 point. If they come second and we come fourth, then we tie, but then I win on most wins. So it's a very interesting situation. I hope the drivers also understand it.
So Francois knew where the battle lines were drawn. For Toyota's Marc Grenier, the battle was lost twice within sight of the line and probable victory too.
Well, that's going to be on the cards, definitely. I mean, I'd really love to give Toyota the result they deserve. But unfortunately, you know, the year's been tough and it's just gone sort of pear-shaped in the last couple of races. But I'm really hoping that it's going to come to our way now and our luck's going to change.
What will your tactics be for the race?
Well, for now, I mean, obviously you can see the rain is coming up. So either way, it's going to be quite tricky. You know, we've got a lot of route around the slimes dams, which makes it really difficult when it rains. But for me, it's really prologue's going to be attack, and then see where that places us, and then from there try and conserve and get it to the finish. It's a long day tomorrow. We've got 2 laps of 180 k's, and I think you got to pick your way, you know, carefully through this stuff.
And carefully in off-road is almost a watchword. It works most of the time too. For the sponsors Neil Woolridge, it was desperation stakes for a victory in 2007.
A Ford-sponsored event that's been good to us in the past. So almost a home event for us as well, because it's not too far from Pietermaritzburg. So yeah, we'd certainly love to win this event.
Any tactical plans for the weekend?
I don't think any tactics. I think as normal, to finish first, you must first finish. And it's normally a tough race. They put us into the rocky area and the military area, which can catch a lot of people out. There's also a lot of dongas, and last year there was a lot of mud and water. So I see they've had quite a bit of rain here. I don't think as much as last year, but there's quite a few places that can catch you out. So be careful and push hard. But you know, we're lying 4th in the championship. We'd like to finish 3rd if at all possible. So we'd certainly like to send it.
There's that word again. But in Class D, there was a fun fight of note on the go. The Raysonic squad with Kutsiela Waskachny behind the wheel were right in the thick of things.
Yeah, no, well, with everything, if you look at the points, there's about 6 guys who can mathematically still win it. So I think it's going to be a tough one. All the guys will go out there for it, and we're going to give it our full go and see what happens from there. We can only do our best, and that's all you can do, and the rest will be up to the man on top.
And on top on the points log, it was Foss who had already celebrated his championship win, but Nissan were desperate to keep it a 1-2-3, while Ford had an eye on the podium. In the special class, there was a huge amount of racing still to be done before the season was to be embalmed and buried. For the Harpers, there was a consistent year, but now it had come down to this: 1 race, 400 Ks, and all to play for.
Yeah, look, it makes it exciting. We're looking forward to this one, and that's what makes racing so great and makes the Class A, the special vehicle class, competitive. And it can take it down to the last race. That's what makes everybody want to win it, you know.
Tactics. What's in your mind this weekend?
Look, we're going to go hard. We have to go hard because, you know, it's either go hard or get second.
So, and I know Evan's going to do the same. So, but we still got to be conservative. We don't want to throw it away. So we're going to basically maintain what we've done all year, get the car home and drive as fast as we can to do that, you know.
In the 2005 and 06 National Champions Camp, the motorite lads were quietly confident. After all, they'd done it before and were prepared for all the pressure.
Yeah, you know, I'm glad we've got the pressure. 3 races ago, we had no chance of winning the championship. We had a few problems with the cars. We need to win 2 races in a row to give ourselves a chance coming into Carnival City. And we've managed to do that. We won the last 2. So it's down to the wire, winner takes all. Yeah, so it's definitely going to make for a good race. It's ourselves and Nick Harper. Yeah, we're going to have to give it a full go.
Gloves off it would be, and in Class B it was exactly the same, except that it was a family battle.
Yeah, well, there's a point to prove, and it's gonna be a wet weekend, so it's gonna go fast, muddy, dangerous. So yeah, we're gonna have a hell of a dice, and we're gonna see what's the outcome. I really don't know.
No team orders.
Yeah, well, that's another story, but when you're out in the field, team orders doesn't matter anymore.
In other words, man the posts full speed ahead and the rest be damned. Just those 5 points separated the Harpers from the motorite crew, while Cox and Testega were just too far back to threaten, seeing that a win is worth 25 points. In the prologue, which is run to decide the starting positions for the race proper, it was the Grobler-Jordan pairing who got the honour of taking it away. The time trial was run over a tough and testing 40-kilometre layout, and it was slightly wet out there too, courtesy of the aforementioned rain. National champ Voss and his co-Rob Pitchford were next and went herring off rather quickly. Grenier with his faithful nav Chris Birkin strapped in next to him were thirsting for a win in the Castrol Toyota Hilux, and they were driving quickly. There's always added pressure when your sponsor flies the banner, but for Brandon Harkis and Jean Moore in the Ford Ranger, there was even more. They needed a win. In-car, their communication is some of the best out there. After all, they've been racing together for a while now.
Big donga, big donga, big donga. Big donga. That's it. 200 meters, another big donga. 100 meters. Yeah. This is the warning.
And there were some big dongas out there as Voss and Pitchford discovered. In car, there was frenetic but controlled driving and thinking.
Go for 3 kilometers, no instruction. 3 kilometers. Caution, yeah? To me. Give it to me. Stop. Okay.
Woolridge and Schulthammer were the defending SP class champions and were driving like an NPRAC fan early on. Grenier and Birkin clocked the fastest intermediate times in a really well-controlled and aggressive drive, while Chris Visser and Jaapie Paardenhorst were 5th. Norwegian mountaineer Ivar Tollefsen and his standing co-driver VZ van Zyl were also impressing and would eventually clock the 6th fastest time for the prologue. For the Mickelin Excel dealer team, there was a very solid 7th place in the time trial with a time of 33 minutes and 26 seconds, just more than 2 minutes down. While Grobler and Jordan took it relatively easy and tried not to stress the Nissan Navara too much early on, they were 21st overall. The Zermatten brothers, Henry and Maurice, were also in the hunt for the national crown in Class D and were giving it horns. weren't sparing the horses nor the carriage. Their Obi Nissen was getting a hammering. Newcomers Mark Ferguson and Craig West in the special Steels Ford Ranger were cautious but quick and were ninth fastest. While the Barton Tyre Services crew of Thomas Rundle and Brian Roberts were just 12 seconds behind them. The Nissen was in particularly good voice on the first morning of the Ford Carnival City 400. The big man Kutsielav Skachny and his co-driver Johan Gerber had their ups and downs in the year 2007, but were off to a very good start and taking line honours in Class D. With Bevan Bertolt and the lanky Robert Houghton limping along in the second Castrol Toyota, it seemed that their challenge was over before it had even begun properly.
Just right, keep left, the fast part of the route. Yeah, and go up here and turn left. Okay.
Tomorrow we race. Today we fix wheels. One of our spare wheels fell off for some reason, and then we got a punch. We only had one, so that's the end of the game. We'll have to take our time and a half penalty, start maybe 20 minutes behind tomorrow, do the best we can. Otherwise the car's running beautifully, and just a pity the wheel was left a bit loose on the back.
How did that old song go? You picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel. Oh well, there was some celebration in the Toyota Cup as Gronje and Birkin won the prologue in the production car class with a 28-second margin over Brandon Hockes and Jean Moore in a Ford Racing Ranger. In the special category, it was clear that the route favoured the special vehicles, and Motorrad Racing's 05 champion Hutchison hit his straps early on and kept it right there. He clocked an outstanding 28 minutes and 15 seconds to dominate proceedings. It was clear that he had brought his race-winning form to the East Rand. The Hoppers tried to keep up but were always just a tad off the pace in their Atlas Copco bat, but only to the tune of 25 seconds. Perhaps they were preserving the car early on. The second Atlas Copco bat also kept them on the straight and narrow, as the teammates Gary Bertolt and Jeff Minnett were just 39 seconds behind. With the 2006 champion, multiple discipline guru Alfie Cox and his nav Henny Terstege in fourth, another 28 ticks of the clock further back. Another former champion, Shamir Varayawa, was making his Total Motorsport Porter sing-along with Siegfried Rousseau making the road calls. They were fifth quickest over the 40 Ks, and it was rough and tough out there. In the Century Properties Development bat, Colin Matthews and Alan Smith proved to be the surprise package of the 07 season, and they were continuing on this trend with a fine 6th place. While Clint Gibson and Gary Campbell in the absolute bat were just a half a minute over the half-hour mark for their time test. The tall grass, a result of lots of rain in this part of the world, made it tough to read the road easily and resulted in some rather bumpy rides, as Omen Silwalt and Tony Kaywood discovered. And Karl-Heinz Silwalt and Paul Helberg, winners earlier in the season, were flying even higher, albeit a little skew at times. With Regent Racing's Michael Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson taking the 11th place in 32 minutes and 26 seconds, good enough for 15th overall. Brothers Johan and Etienne Besaidnout plastered on the pressure in Class B. They were 3 minutes and 16 seconds ahead of the old man, their father Bez, who with Johan de Bruin in the cockpit was hoping to win Class B championship. Just a point separated these two crews for the runners-up spot in the championship. Talk about the alpha male syndrome. In the the Class S Championship race, it was all over bar the shouting, but personal pride still would not let Nick Gosler and Richard Carolyn slack off. They were going well in the Kopenhagen Hotel race go. But the prologue gave pundits a good idea who had the best form, and it seemed to be with the Motorrad lads Hutchison and Bergman, who had a 25-second gap over championship leaders the Harpers. Cox and Tersteger were also right there to keep Motorrad in the hunt.
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA, going off the beaten dirt, going off the beaten track to find solutions.
The work areas and the compound at the complex for the Ford Carnival City 400 always looks like a war zone after the time trial.
Yeah, you know, it's always very tight out here at Carnival City. You know, the route is just one of those that it's very hard to make up a lot of time. It's easy to lose a lot of time, though. But yeah, for sure, Toyota's been quick all year. I'm looking forward to the race tomorrow. You know, our cars are extremely good in the rough, and it gets very rough here. I think maybe they struggle a little bit more in the rough than we do, but then again, they're very good in they maybe have a little edge on power. But you know, all these cars are very similar. So you know, some sections of the race will be good and some will be good. But you know, to be honest with me, my race is not with Cronier tomorrow. It's more, I mean, I'm with my teammate Neil and with Ivo Tollefson. So I'm not really going to be worrying what Cronier is doing until the second lap. Obviously, a win is important for me though. So if you want to win, you still have to beat everyone. So I look forward to the race. It's a great event.
Mechanics scurry here and there. Cleaners wipe away mud, muck and dust in an effort to give the sponsors their pound of flesh. But Nissan were in the pound seats.
We've won all the races up until now, so we're going to try our best to win tomorrow. You know, there's three of us and we're all competitive. So it would be nice to finish the year on a high.
And as the bright fires were lit and the cans of golden liquid found their home, Henry Zamatin had words of wisdom.
You know what, nobody's ever won a race in 40 kilometers, so today's prologue, yeah, we said we were going to push. We'll just keep pushing. We need to win this. You know, coming second is like kissing your sister. It's just not the same thing.
Okay, Henry, if you say so. But it's the last race of the year. Has your luck changed at all, do you think?
Yeah, thank heavens luck doesn't come into it. We're going to just give it all we've got. It's so tight now with so many cars so close to the win. For the championship in Class D, everybody's just got to give it their best shot, and you know, whoever wins it will win the championship, and you know, that's just the way it's got to be. You know, you've got to give it everything, and then at the end of the day, when some fat lady starts singing, then we'll see.
For the Total Motorsport team, there was a good prologue, despite some troubles with the brakes early on. Fifth was a good result for a team who was strangely just off the pace in 2007.
Yeah, we had a good run. We were battling a bit with the brakes, but we seemed to found a problem. We changed the master cylinder, and yeah, fifth is not too bad, and hopefully tomorrow we'll keep it there.
In the Roacon camp, there were some troubles.
No, there's something electrical wrong here, and we can't get the fault. Just before the prologue started, there was a problem with the battery. We put a new battery, and 10 k's down the road again, the battery was flat. So there's some other electrical thing here, and I'm an engineer, not an electrician, so I don't know what's going on here.
When Saturday dawned, the air was laden with anticipation, nervous and otherwise, as the championship contenders did the last few settings before getting ready to set sail into the Heidelberg and Suikerbosrand areas for two tough leaps over almost 400 k's. The teams got a quick 15-minute stopover back at Carnival City for the designated service point, and then it was back out for the last 180 k's of the season. Cronier was a very happy camper.
Mark, a win on the prologue, a nice boost for you.
Yeah, absolutely. We pushed hard yesterday, and that was on the cards for yesterday. But we'll see what the strategy brings us today. We've really got to get it to the end. It's vital for us.
And conditions look as though they're going to be a lot better than they have in recent years.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, but the weatherman today said there's 30% chance of thunder showers. But I suppose it's the same for everybody, so let's hope it swings more to the dry.
And they will all be watching the Toyota. In Class E, the Baden Tyre Services Nissan of Thomas Rundle and Brian Roberts had a 55-second victory in the prologue, and they were raring to go.
Yeah, we gave it full taps, and we won it, and we won it by about a minute, so you know, we're happy, and we just want to try and keep it together today. Obviously, that's the most important. Yesterday's an eye in the past, and yeah, we're looking forward to a good day.
It looks as though it's going to stay dry as well.
Yeah, that suits us a bit. You know, with the 2.4, you know, the wet does seem to slow us down a bit, but we're glad it rained a little bit overnight, but we'll keep our sand tires on and we're going to give it a full go today.
There were some very tense faces as the cars lined up in the order that they finished in during the prologue. There was a lot at stake, and the expressions reflected that to the extreme. The Atlas Copco team were hoping to run some interference for their title contenders, the Harpers, while Hutchison and Bergman would have a clear road ahead of them, a great position to be racing from, and Hutchison let all the aggro out quite early. Harpers were off next after finishing 25 seconds in arrears when the clock was ticking, and they also had some serious airtime there. Stablemates Bertolt and Minute were a further 64 seconds behind Motorite. Cox, the outgoing champion, and Ter Stegen never shy to start off with all of the foot right on the throttle. Variawa and Rousseau's Big Porter took to the line next, and they were sent to chase some dust for a while. See what I mean? The old mine dumps can really provide some serious dust, and Hutchison and Bergman were the only men who did not have to deal with it. On the special vehicles, there are no windscreens. Here's what it's like to be right in there. Hope you don't suffer from vertigo. That's up to 160 km an hour over the countryside of the East Rand, with Cox and Ter Stegen firing on all cylinders early on and racing up the order. While the Atlas Copco team decided to pair up and ride together. Variawa and Rousseau were also closing the gap on the men ahead of them. Cronje and Birken were, despite a lot of mud on their Castrol Toyota, trying not to go too deep early on, and they almost had a head-on too.
Yes, I mean, you must go right here. Go right. Go right. This is a joke.
The joke Birken was referring to was the fact that some of the racebook left teams wondering which way to go. Variawa was searching, and teams were appearing from just about everywhere. Want to know just how hectic it gets in there in the heat of the moment? Here's Voss and Pitchford.
No, we're going to turn right up front here. Yeah, there's a right turn coming up, eh? Where? Just after this plate.
Are we wrong? Just check.
Yeah, we should have gone right. Turn around.
Okay, wait, now.
Go around, U-turn. Watch the holes here. Go straight, go. And go left here. Watch out. Go left here. Left. Yeah. Stay out the millies. Okay, 600, fork left. Left up here in 200. Yeah, slowly. This car's a bit confused.
Okay, wait.
We've got to go left.
Call wind.
Left, yeah.
Good call. Great call.
Awesome in-car pictures and sound, and Voss complimentary on his navigator's skill. However, it was clear that some teams were really getting lost and that it would be a real race of attrition. The Brandon Harker's piloted Ford Ranger had lost more than 30 seconds to Voss, but closed again due to that wrong slot. with Neil Woolridge riding as hard as he could to get in amongst the scrap for the production car title. And Chris Visser and Jappie Baardnost holding station in 5th place in their Castrol Toyota. With Karl-Heinz Sulwalt and Paul Helberg just a few seconds back. Michael Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson in the first Regent Racing bat, 15th overall and 10th in Class A. With Tollefson and Van Sale having made up 27 seconds behind them. Gibson and Campbell had lost a few places due to some serious wrong slotting. While Gary Gillingham and Peter van Vieren were holding their own nicely just inside the top 20. With the Micra and Excel dealer team and the De Bruins on board also holding on. But the dust was taking its toll, and some drivers were wishing for the customary rain. The Besaidnotes Johan and Etienne came by next, trying to stay ahead of the older Besaidnote. And Grobler was being guided by Jordan.
Dink hierdie kant, ja. Is dit so? Ja, op. Is al pad daai kant? Daar was 'n pad daai kant, ja. Dan moet dit daai kant wees. Hierdie kant kom glad nie by mekaar uit nie. Waar gaan hulle heen? Gaan hier af? Ja. Wat jy GP? GPS is reg.
Patience was being tested to the limit, and Bez Besaidnout and Johan de Bruin were still chasing the youngsters who were up the road. Talking brothers, the Zermattens were battling a little with the Ryobi Nissan, but were still in the top 25, with a traffic jam just happening right behind them. The Baden Tyre Services boys leading Class E. Then the Ford, the brothers Moffat in second in Class E, and the Barkhuisens right on their tail. Class E was sizzling. And then the Kopanang Hotel super team riding in all that dust. Not a lot of fun in an open cab. And Kutsia Labaskachny and Johan Gerber, who dropped a few places next. They were, however, going well and trying to conserve the Raysonics Nissan. It was all happening out there, and after the first 80-odd Ks of racing, it was still Hutchison and Bergman, with Cox and Tersteega having made up 2 places. Cronje and Birkin were leading the production car clash. More off-road after this.
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA, going off the beaten track to find solutions.
On the homeward looper, the first 180 Ks in the Ford Carnival City 400 on the East Rand, it was defending champions Evan Hutchison and Akin Bergman, who were looking for win number 3 here, leading by 20 seconds. They were ahead of Cox and Tersteega, with Berthold and Minute and the Atlas Copco Porter third. And they just had to keep it on track as the hoppers had got stuck in mud and they were racing like the devil was chasing them. The national crown, after all, was up for grabs. The Century Properties Development bat with Matthews and Smith aboard were 5th. With Variawa and Rousseau in 6th, having dropped a place due to a problematic CV boot. Cronje and Birkin were still battling along and in control in the SP and production car class, but were they going too hard, is what everyone was asking. Sulwald and Helberg next drove into view and were going so quickly that Paul had to use the road book to shield him from the mud. Woolridge and Scholthammer had prepared the Ford with painstaking thoroughness and were reaping the benefits. They were right up into 2nd place. With Ford stablemates Harkis and Moore staying right in contact. And the other Stalwart, Homan and Tony Kaywood up into the top 12 in Class A. Having tied up the national championship, Foss was now also hunting the SP Class national crown, but he was too eager.
Yeah, turn right. Yo! Okay, switch the main switch off.
Luckily, no serious damage, and they got the car back on its feet. And teammates Tollefson and Van Zyl were still there to fly the Japanese manufacturer's flag. And the gentleman in harness came out quickly too.
Het was weer.
Whitehouse and Carlson were up into the top 10 and were steady, if not spectacular. Gary Gillingham in Class A was also driving very smoothly. But it was tough out there, and hitting one of these at the wrong angle and or speed could be the end of a fine day's racing. The De Bruins were still going steadily in the Toyota, but had lost a fistful of places due to some wrong slotting and a few minor problems which slowed them down. And the rocky climb in the military base at Heidelberg was tough on man and machine. Even the specials, built for this stuff, battled here. And there was, despite the sunny skies, still a lot of water to negotiate. This route is never really dry at this time of the year. Terence Marsh and Peter Groenewald hardly noticed though. The Edenko bat with the Besaidnotes aboard was almost unrecognizable, and the mountains here at the end of the first loop certainly took its toll. With the Regent Racing bat of father and son, Jan and Hendrik Kraai looking for win number 6 out of 8 races in 07, and no one was betting against them doing it. Ferguson and West had got their Ford a little lighter, albeit slightly unbalanced as a result, but they were going well enough and into the top 20. In Class D, Arnold Duplessis and Johan Knox in the BB Auto Nissan were steady as they always are and in second place in class. And ready to pass, it was Archie Rutherford and Craig Doubtfire in the third Atlas Copco. The windscreen wipers were working overtime on the muddier parts of the route, and Kobus van Tonda and Rian Guapa and the Unifreight Ford Ranger had a lot of places to make up after finishing 40th in the time trial. The Kopenhagen lads were full steam ahead, while Kutsiela Beskachny and Johan Gerber were trying to conserve their car. Father and son Cliff and Louis Weichelt were also going well in Class D in their Bosel Toyota. With Ramon Besaidnout and Stefan Locke, despite a bent steering arm, were heading for the designated service point. Berthold and Robin Houghton took their time penalties and were screaming up the batting order, but had a lot of traffic to contend with. In the mountains, it was best to take it easy and get the car out in one piece. This section had to be negotiated again in the afternoon, thus Vella had to stand back for safety this time. Fabio Tofani and Alan Deerling in their Toyota got through unscathed, but tyres here were a great worry, and some teams were already on a spare or two. In Class E, Jack Peckham and Loichiro Santoro were looking for a finish and then a podium, and they were protecting the Ford Ranger big time. Conversely, Thomas Rundle lost the Dunlop part of his car, but was sure that he would bounce back. Visser and Joks Leroux had to dodge the offending part. But they were going well and dominating in Class E. On the way to the designated service point, it was still Hutchison and Bergman who were leading. Grenier ahead in the production car class, but Woolridge and Schulthammer were closing in. At DSP, the motorized crew were ready to take a 15-minute break and repair what little there was to repair. Hutchison had been doing some low flying. It was a hive of activity, but in this squad, unlike the All Blacks, everyone knows exactly what they have to do. Matthews and Smith steamed in next, 5 places up from where they started in the morning, but Evan was not even racing.
We're still in the lead at the end of the first lap, which is a miracle because most of the time we've been lost. We haven't really known where we've been going the whole lap. So apparently everybody's really close because I don't know. Obviously the guys who made it back have done well just to find their way back in here. We've had quite a few closed gates, bunting where we're meant to go through, so it's been really, really difficult now. But we've made it through the first lap. We're still in the lead, which is what we need to be. I don't know where Harper is, which is the person we're racing. But the car's still good, so we'll go out, and if we've made it round once, theoretically we should be able to make it round again. But it really has been very, very difficult just to try and find, and I haven't been racing, we've just been driving, trying to find our way. So we'll go and try and give another lap, yeah.
The Harpers were indeed in 2 minutes and 8 seconds slower than Hutchison, but had a few problems which cost them some time. And Variawa and Rousseau had lost 1 place in the Total Motorsport Porter. Despite a misfire, they had kept it going quite nicely.
No, it's going fine. We passing the guys, falling back again, getting lost. And with the water, we're having a sort of a misfire, I think wet electric, so it slowed us down a bit. But everything's fine. Guys, 100%. We're just changing the CV boot and we'll be back on the road.
Grenier and Birken's car sounded awful, but the Toyota had got them there, so it could not have been too serious. Well, Woolridge and Schulthammer were just 3 seconds slower than the prologue winner over the first 180k shift. Grenier was trying to keep it tidy.
Yeah, it's been going quite well so far for us. We've had a clean run up to now. We're battling with the route schedule. You know, we're really getting lost everywhere. But otherwise, we're trying to keep it clean and get it to the end clean. That's our intention at this stage.
And the route book came in for some stick. In the Ford enclosure, there was feverish activity as they had 2 contenders right up there.
It's been tough this morning, eh? Started off doing nicely, and you know, we're just making a little bit of error here and a little bit of error there, and we've lost the place every time. So it's been hard punishment, but I'm not a problem with the windscreen, the rubber's come out. It's all the muddy water's going down the inside of the windscreen, but you know, it's very difficult to see after you've been through mud splash. But I'm sure we're going to sort that out now and have a lot better run on the second lap. And it's still anybody's race. You know, from all my experience here, anybody can win from this point in. So I'm looking forward to the next lap, really going to push it hard. We're going to hold back.
It's not really in Brandon's personality in any case, nor is it in the defending SP champions, Woolridge and Schulthammer's for that matter.
No, it's good. It's finding the route's difficult, but the circuit's very nice, very nice. It's a bit dusty, but just finding the way, it's a little bit difficult. The odor and the route schedule are not quite calibrated.
And the car danger, how's it going?
The car's fantastic. No, it really is magnificent. On top of it, we just got 1 to pass now and we should be there.
For the outgoing national champion, Hannes Grobler, the wet was a little daunting, but as we know, this man can drive in anything. I guess even treacle and mashed potato.
Not too wet. Some places are wet. Where there's little river crossings and things, we get like flaylands and it's very wet there. But further on, it's fine.
In the other pit areas, teams were cleaning numbers, refilling and fixing, while the driver and navigator were sitting down and having a quick bite, as well as rehydrating. It's a time to try and relax before hitting the road for the final time in the 2007 season.
Ag, het gaan alright. Die navigation is 'n bietjie moeilik vandag. Die route en die GPS en al die goeie werk nie lekker met mekaar nie. Maar ons gaan alright. Ons gaan alright. Dis ook die route.
Foss got to DSP despite that half-tuck and a roll of his, which would not have scored many points with any gymnastic judge. The mechanics were trying their best to get it proper again, but Foss had even bigger problems than a little roll.
We rolled the car in the beginning, managed to right it, get going again, and we caught the other guys and we were running in a train and we got lost and we got into a quarry. We beached the car on a huge rock and it took us about, I don't know, 12 minutes to get it off the rock. So that's where we've lost our time.
It wasn't pretty, but then at the Ford Carnival City 400, it never really is.
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA. Going off the beaten track from ABSA. Going off the beaten track to find solutions.
With just 170 odd Ks of the season left, it was still Evan Hutchison and Achim Bergman who were setting the pace for the rest of the field, who by now had been thinned out by more than 30%. By the end of the day, more than 60% of the starters would have failed to see the finish line. And there were many teams who had to do a little bit of tricking to get to a point where they could be rescued. Matthews and Smith were storming along. The Harpers put in a big surge and were up into third fairly quickly, but needed to close the gap to Hutchison even more. And for Variawa and Rousseau, there was now only one way, as hard and as quickly as possible, for as long as possible. Cox and Tersteger were also hard at work and needed to back up their championship-chasing stablemate, Hutchison. For Cronje and Birken, it had been a very good morning, but they needed to capitalize. Unfortunately, they ran out of windscreen fluid and battled to sea, an absolute drawback in a race such as this. Mud was treacherous at the best of times. Woolridge and Schulthammer was smelling victory and had begun closing the gap on the Toyota pair. But they also still needed to save the car for the home stretch. For Krobla and Jordan, it was all-out racing.
100 meter, hou reg van die boom en dan dadelik T-right. Reg van die boom en dan T-right daar.
With Harkes and Moore in the second Ford Ranger doing their word proud by also going out hard and keeping it right there. The Atlas Copco team were having a good race as Berthold and Minute were still firmly ensconced in the top 5. But after 230 Ks, the big move was that the SP battle had haunted up, and Krobla and Jordan had pulled Harkes and Moore up with them. The production vehicle race was going to be a struggle to the death. Hutchison and Bergman were now letting it all hang out as the Harpers had got back into third place, and they knew the pressure was on. With Matthews and Smith picking what looked like the deepest line through this flay, and it was a big gamble. Luckily, they kept the engine dry. And then, the moment that ended the Harper Championship Challenge. There was a deeper line, and Nick managed to find it. Meanwhile, Cronje's Toyota was still in with a shot and was going solidly, but he was in twice before the season when leading and within sight of the finish line and couldn't quite pull it off. And to make matters worse for the Toyota pair, Woolridge and Schulthammer was closing the gap and closing it quickly. Krobla and Jordan were on their way to clocking the fastest time of the day on Loop 2 and were themselves heaping the pressure on the two teams in front. And Cox was holding station in third, racing cautiously yet quickly. Ferguson Moore's Ford Ranger was sounding fine engine-wise, but the body had obviously taken a beating. Listen up. And racing in the Ford's considerable dust, it was Gary Berthold and Jeff Minute in the second Atlas Copco. A good return to form for the duo. The Zermattens were hampered by several problems and were eventually forced to call it a day, with the Nissan of Tollefson and Van Zyl still very much in a roadworthy state. The Ryobi Nissan soldiered on, but it was all to no avail. The Regent Racing duo of Whitehouse and Carlson had inched their way up the order and were just sneaking into the top 10. A wonderful drive all the way up from 15th. Back at the gala, which should have been better suited to Rick Neetling and his teammates, Marsh and Groenewald came through next, followed by Sulwalt and Kaywood. Who then promptly did a pirouette just for our cameras. At least, we think so. Foss, too, was clawing his way back after a rather hectic first loop and was back in contention, believe it or not. And in Class B, the Cries were again firmly in control, looking for win number 6. A truly great season. Gillingham and Van Vieren were still motoring along nicely and shooting for a place in the top 10 in the specials. Rutherford and Doubtfire were going well until this huge mistake. It left the two racers nursing a broken arm and sore egos, seeing that it was caught on camera. Thompson and Blakey were having a storming run though and were just outside the top 10 in the specials, all the way up from 19th. Rutherford, normally a very cautious driver, explained how the accident happened.
Well, after the river section, coming to the river, heading for this dam wall, yeah, we had no brakes. I think obviously water got in between the pad and the disc, and that was it. Hit this jump here, flat out in third, and ended up going end over end, I think.
Well, certainly the most spectacular flip we've had this season, and a testimony to the safety features of the specials that there weren't any serious injuries. The Micra and Excel dealer team put together a brilliant second loop, and from 7th in class, they were already one better. But the varying surfaces tested the driver's skills to the nth degree and required great timing and courage. Up front in the production car class, the Ford Racing Ranger with Woolridge and Scholtham had taken the lead after Cronje and Birkin had run into trouble, and Kobus van Tonde and Rian Guapa were also making Ford very proud. And for the Class S race title, the Kopenhagen Hotel Super Team had things all their own way. They were 15 minutes ahead of the competition. Beside Norton Locke and the Atlas panel beaters Toyota had moved up 5 places in the production car class and were second in Class D, a fine ride right up the order. In Class E, Visser and Leroux came through from 51st overall after the prologue to clinch 10th place in the production vehicle battle. And Peckham and Santoro also did some giant killing with a wonderful drive from 34th to a 2nd place in class and 12th in the production category, with Glenn Gibson and Mark Whitehurst in their ace go in 14th place in the specials. Ferguson and West in the 4th Ford Ranger were good enough to get to the finish line in 7 hours and 3 minutes. That gave them 8th in the SP class, with Rundle and Roberts powering the Baden Tyre Nissan to 4th in Class E. But this one was a race of attrition. At the finish line, though, it was hats off to Evan Hutchison and Achim Bergman, who stopped the clocks in 5 hours and 20 minutes to clinch the national championship for motorite. They nailed the second loop faster than anyone else. With Colin Matthews and Alan Smith just 6 minutes in arrears. A fine season for these two men who only started driving together at the beginning of the year.
It was tough, eh? This morning was really tough. We were all getting lost and we started really getting despondent and not knowing where to go and not knowing how to race. But today was a day for Motorite, the team, you know. My navigator today, in a day that was so difficult to navigate, he came through good when we needed him. We managed to get through the whole of the first loop, coming into the pit stop in the lead, which was very, very difficult. But we knew if we could just stay in the lead till the pits, we'd be all right for the rest of that lap. Which we managed to do. And we went out in the second loop knowing we had about a 2-minute gap over Nick Harper, who was right behind us. And we pushed really hard at the beginning of the lap. And then I think we got up to about a 6-minute gap where we knew we had it. And we just tried to conserve the car. I heard all the spooks in my head coming and noises in the car and problems with the gearbox. But we just carried on and we got quieter and quieter in the car, knowing it was just getting closer and closer, not wanting to say anything. But honestly, today was for Motorite, for the team, you know. Chris, who's prepared this car so well. Achim, who's navigated and built the car. You know, what a team. Justin for running the team, for making those decisions that we need to have made. Today's a huge, huge day for Motorite. It really is. I'm really, really chuffed. Alfie helped me out this morning. When we got lost, he ended up ahead of me. Didn't make it too difficult for me to pass, which has also worked to my advantage. I think he made it a little bit more difficult for the rest of the guys. So it was a day where the whole team came together, and it's a fantastic day. I'm just really proud of everybody at Motorite.
Then Woolridge and Scholthammer crash-landed their Ford Ranger at the finish line, but it was so finished it needed a hand to get back to its resting place. Then a superb drive from the outgoing national champ Hannes Grobler that won his co-driver Francois Jordani's national championship. They were just 60 seconds behind the Ford at the line and clocked the fastest time of the day on Loop 2. Motorite made it 2 out of 3 when Cox and Tersteger came home in third, 4.5 minutes behind. And a luckless Mark Cronje brought home the Toyota third in the production car class, winless in a year when he could have celebrated 3 victories. The Ford pair were pleased to have ears, otherwise their smiles may have gone all the way round.
Neil, we were talking earlier this morning, this would be the race that you wanted to win.
Well, I must say, as I just said to you, I was beginning to wonder if it was ever going to happen again, because we had a bit of a lean year, you know. So, yeah, to come and win our home race, a Ford-sponsored race, it's fantastic, you know, to finish off the season like that. And it's been frustrating because we've known the car can do it all year, but we've had little niggly little things all along, and I've made a couple of mistakes, and it's been bloody annoying, to be honest. But yeah, today's a good one to bring it home, and we had no problem. When I say problems, we had no communications for the first lap. Something went wrong with my intercom on my side, so I borrowed one of the other guys' helmets at halfway point. And when we came to take off on the last lap, as we came out the pits, starter motor's dead. So we had to be very careful all the way around, just nursing it, make sure we didn't stall it anywhere, because there are lots of traps out there. And yeah, we did. It got very hot up in the mountains. It went up to 109 degrees, which our car never ever does. So it was a bit worrying, but it started to come down and never got worse. So I realized it must have been all mud packed up on the front. So yeah, but we happy. It was a hard race, you know, and that Mark Cronje and the Toyota and ourselves, we pushed hard all day. I don't think there was much more than a minute in it. We'd close up, you'd go away a bit, close up, go away, and then yeah, we managed to bring it home. So we're very happy.
And spare a thought for the Harpers, who had a disappointing finish to lose the championship by a bare 9 points. And keep in mind that only 40% of the field finished. A fine victory for the Ford crew in their own race, and Grobler proving that he never gives up, starting 21st overall. Voss stormed back from the dead and took 5th. And in the special vehicle battle, it was the double champion Hutchison who got the nod, and Bergman also won the co-drivers championship. The Harpers, after getting stuck, were 22 minutes off the pace. The championships and a second national title for the likeable Duncan Voss, who will be hard to beat in 2008. And just that 9-point margin for Hutchison over Nick Harper. A special vehicle race in 2008 will be, dare we say it, special. The Manufacturers' Championship was handsomely won by Nissan by 243 points. Until next year, you keep it on the road, we'll keep it off-road.
That was the ultimate test, the ABSA Off-Road Championship. Now fast